Hello everyone, I'm Reynan Riodique, and today's video I'm going to discuss a novel which is The NOLI Tangere of Dr. Jose P. Rizal. NOLI Tangere is an 1887 novel by Dr. Jose Rizal during the colonization of the Philippines by the Spanish Empire to describe perceived inequities of the Spanish Catholic friars and the ruling government. Its title, literally translated the Latin words Noli me tangere means touch me not, taken from John chapter 20 verse 17. Mary Magdalene holds on to Jesus and he tells her not to touch him. John chapter 20 verse 17, Jesus said to her, "Stop clinging to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father, but be on your way to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and to your Father, and to my God and your God." Its cover. Cross represents sufferings. Pomelo blossom and laurel leaves represents the honor and fidelity. Silhouette of a Filipina represented by Maria Clara. Burning torch represents the rage and fashion. Sunflower represents the enlightenment. The bamboo stalk and that were cut down but grew back represents the resilience. A man in a cassock with hairy feet represents the priest using their religion in the dirty way. The chains represent the slavery. The whips represent the cruelties. A helmet of a Guardia Civil represents the arrogance of those in authority. At the top, all of that is the best in Philippine life. Woman symbolizing constancy. Religious faith symbolizes by the tombstone with a laurel, which is courage, and the flower of a pomelo worn by bride and groom at the wedding and symbolizing purity. The words partly covered by the title are the secret inner dedication by Rizal to his parents, the complete text being probably a Miss P. address. Al escribir esta obra he estado pensando continuamente y en vosotros que me habéis infundido los primeros pensamientos y las primeras ideas. A vosotros os dedico este manuscrito de mi juventud con prueba de amor. Berlin, 21 de febrero 1887. To the left of the title, the flower mirasol, representing youth seeking the sun. The author's name, meaning the green of renewal, mounting up into the green of the most enduring of all Philippine trees, the bamboo. At the bottom, all that is worst in Philippine life, the helmet of the civil guard, the whip and instruments of torture, and the foot of a friar.
Preface. In the preface of his novel, Rizal promises to reproduce the conditions of the country faithfully. Without discrimination, he went to sacrifice to truth everything. Rizal wrote in his dedication page in the Noli me tangere, "I will strive to reproduce thy condition faithfully, without discrimination. I will rise apart of the veil that covers the evil." He clearly stated his intention of giving an accurate pictures of the conditions in the Philippines at the time, and this gives the reader a good idea what the main theme would be. The theme of Noli me tangere comes from the Gospel of John. John tells that when Jesus showed himself after resurrection, it was first to Mary Magdalene. Jesus called her and she turned round and saw him. But Jesus did not want her to touch him. He said literally to her, "Do not cling to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to the brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, my God and your God." The Noli me tangere, or touch me not, is a symbol of need for distance. The NOLI TANGERE is a similar theme of longing and unfulfillment. There is no more tragic love, and of course no greater love, than of two beings unable to reach each other, since such a love internally remains unblemished. Rizal book persistently unmasks contemporary Spaniards in the Philippines of every kind. He exposes corruptions and brutality of the civil guards, which drives good men to crime and banditry. He focuses on an administration crawling with self-seekers, how to make their fortunes at the expense of the Filipinos, so that the few officials who are honest and sincere are unable to overcome the treacherous working of the system, and their efforts to help the country often end up frustrations or in self-ruin. The NOLI is Rizal's expose of corrupt priors who have made the Catholic religion an instrument of enriching and perpetuating themselves in power by seeking the mere ignorant Filipinos in fanaticisms and superstition. According to Rizal, instead of teaching Filipinos through Catholicism, they control the government by opposing all progress and persecuting members of the Estrado unless they make themselves their silver flatterers. Rizal does not, however, spare his fellow countrymen. The superstitious and hypocritical fanaticisms of many who consider themselves religious people. The ignorance, corruptions, and brutality of the Filipino civil guards. The passion of gambling unchecked by the thought of duty and responsibility. The servility of the wealthy Filipino towards friars and government officials. The ridiculous efforts of Filipino to dissociate themselves from their fellow men or to lord it over all, these are ridiculed and disclosed. Rizal nevertheless balanced the national portrait by highlighting the virtues and good qualities of his unspoiled countrymen. The modesty and devotion of the Filipina, the uninstinctive hospitality of the Filipino family, the devotion of parents to their children and children to their parents, the deep sense of gratitude, and the solid common sense of the untutored peasant. It calls the Filipino to recover his self-confidence, to appreciate his own worth, to return to the heritage of his ancestor and assert himself as the equal of the Spaniard. It insists on the need of education, of dedications to the country, and of observing aspects of foreign cultures that would enhance the native tradition.
Here are the characters of NOLI TANGERE. Ibarra or Juan Crisostomo Ibarra y Magsalin, son of a Filipino businessman, Don Rafael Ibarra. He studied in Europe for 7 years. Ibarra is also Maria Clara's fiancé. Upon his return, Ibarra requested the local government of San Diego to construct a public school to promote education in the town. Maria Clara de los Santos y Alba. She was raised by Capitan Tiago, San Diego's cabeza de barangay, and is the most beautiful and widely celebrated girl in San Diego. In the later parts of the novel, Maria Clara's identity was revealed as an illegitimate daughter of Father Damaso, former parish curate of the town, and Doña Pia Alba, wife of the Capitan Tiago. In the end, she entered local covenant for nuns Beaterio de Santa Clara. Capitan Tiago or Don Santiago de los Santos is a Filipino businessman and the cabeza de barangay or head of barangay of the town of San Diego. He is also the known father of Maria Clara. He is also said to be a good Catholic, friend of the Spanish government, and was considered as a Spanish by colonialists. Capitan Tiago never attended school, so he became a domestic helper of a Dominican friar who taught him informal education. He married Pia Alba from Santa Cruz. Padre Damaso or Damaso Verdulagas is a Franciscan friar and the former parish curate of San Diego. He is the best known as a notorious character who speaks with harsh words and has been a cruel priest
during his stay in the town. He is the real father of Maria Clara and an enemy of Crisostomo's father Rafael Ibarra. Later, he and Maria Clara had a bitter arguments whether she would marry Alfonso Linares or go to a convent. At the end of the novel, he is again reassigned to a distant town and is found dead one day. Ilyas is the Ibarra's mysterious friend and ally. Ilyas made his first appearance as a pilot during a picnic of Ibarra and Maria Clara's and her friends. He wants to revolutionize the country and to be freed from Spanish oppression. Filosofo Tasio, seeking for reforms from the government, he expresses his ideals in paper written in a cryptographic alphabet similar from hieroglyphs and Coptic figures, hoping that the future generations may be able to decipher it and realize the abuse and oppression done by the conquerors. His full name is only known as Don Anastasio. The educated inhabitants of San Diego labeled him as Filosofo Tasio or Tasio the Sage, while others called him as Tasio el Loco or Insane Tasio, due to his exceptional talent for reasoning. Sisa, Crispin, and Basilio. Sisa, Crispin, and Basilio represents a Filipino family persecuted by the Spanish authorities. Narcisa or Sisa is the deranged mother of Basilio and Crispin, described as beautiful and young. Although she loves her children very much, she cannot protect them from the beatings of her husband Pedro. Crispin is Sisa's 17-year-old son, an altar boy. He was unjustly accused of stealing money from the church. After failing to force Crispin to return the money he allegedly stole, Father Salvi and the head of sacristan killed him. Basilio is Sisa's 10-year-old son, an alcoholic tasked to ring the church bell for the Angelus. He faces the dread of losing his younger brother and failing of his mother into insanity. Other characters: Padre Hernando de la Sibila, a Dominican friar. He is described as short and has fair skin. He is instructed by an old priest in his order to watch Crisostomo Ibarra. Padre Bernardo Salvi, the Franciscan curate of San Diego, secretly harboring lust for Maria Clara. He is described to be very thin and sickly. It is also hinted that his last name, Salvi, is the shorter form of Salvi, meaning salvation, or Salvi is short for salvaje, meaning bad, hinting to the fact that he is willing to kill an innocent child. Crispin, just to get his money back, though there was not enough evidence that it was Crispin who has stole his 2 onzas. El Alferez or Alperez, chief of the Guardia Civil, mortal enemy of the priest of power in San Diego, and the husband of Doña Consolacion. Doña Consolacion, wife of the Alferez, nicknamed as the La Musa de los Guardias Civiles, or the Muse of the Civil Guards, or La Alfereza, was a former laundry woman who passes herself as a peninsular, best remembered for her abusive treatment of Sisa. Doña Victorina or Doña Victorina de los Reyes de Espadaña is an ambitious Filipina who classifies herself as a Spanish and mimics Spanish ladies by putting on heavy makeup. Don Tiburcio de Espadaña, Spanish quack doctor who is limp and submissive to his wife, Doña Victorina. Teniente Guevara, a close friend of Don Rafael Ibarra. He reveals to Crisostomo how Don Rafael Ibarra's death came about. Alfonso Linares, a distant nephew of Tiburcio de Espadaña, the would-be fiancé of Maria Clara. Although he presented himself as practitioner of law, it was later revealed that he, just like Don Tiburcio, is a fraud. He later died due to given medications of Don Tiburcio. Tia Isabel, Capitan Tiago's cousin who raised Maria Clara, Gobernador General or Gobernador General, a named person in the novel. He is the most powerful official in the Philippines. He has great disdains against the priors and corrupt officials and sympathize Ibarra. Don Filipo Lino, Vice Mayor of the San Diego, leader of the Liberals. Padre Manuel Martin, he is the linguistic curate of the nearby town, who says the sermon during the San Diego's Fiesta. Don Rafael Ibarra, father of Crisostomo Ibarra. Though he is the richest man in San Diego, he is also the most virtuous and generous. Doña Pia Alba, wife of Capitan Tiago and mother of Maria Clara. She died, giving birth to her. In reality, she was raped by Damaso so he could bear a child.
Non-recurring characters. These are the characters that mentioned in the novel. Don Pedro Ibarramendi, the great-grandfather of Crisostomo Ibarra, who came from the Basque area of Spain. He started the misfortunes of Elias' family. His descendants abbreviated their surname to Ibarra. He died for unknown reason, but was seen as decaying corpse on a balete tree. Don Saturnino Ibarra, the son of Don Pedro, father of Don Rafael, and grandfather of Crisostomo Ibarra. He was the one who developed the town of San Diego. He was described a cruel man, but was very clever. Salome, Elias' sweetheart. She lives in a little house by the lake, and though Elias would like to marry her, he tells her that it would do her and their children no good to be related to a fugitive like himself. Sinang, Maria Clara's friend, because of Crisostomo Ibarra, offered half of the school he was building to Sinang. He gained Capitan Basilio's support. Iday, Andeng, and Victoria, Maria Clara's other friends. Capitan Basilio, Sinang's father, leader of the conservatives. Pedro, the abusive husband of Sisa, who loves cockfighting. Tandang Pablo, the leader of the Tulisan or bandits, whose family was destroyed because of the Spaniards. El Hombre Amarillo, or apparently means yellowish person, named as Taong Madilaw, one of Crisostomo Ibarra's would-be assassins. He is not named in the novel, and only described as such in the novel. He carved the cornerstones of Ibarra's school. Instead of killing Ibarra, he was killed by his cornerstone. Lucas, the brother of the Taong Madilaw, he planned a revolution against the government with Ibarra as the leader after he was turned down by Ibarra. He was said to have a scar on his left cheek. He would later be killed by the sacristan mayor. Bruno and Tercilio, a pair of brothers whose father was killed by the Spaniards. Ñal Juan, appointed as foreman of the school to be built by Ibarra. Next, Kapitana Tika, Sinang's mother and wife of Capitan Basilio. Albino, a former seminarian who joined the picnic with Ibarra and Maria Clara, was later captured during the revolution. Kapitana Maria Elena, a nationalist woman who defends Ibarra of the memory of his father. Kapitan Tinong and Kapitan Balintin, other known people from the town of San Diego. And last, Sacristan Mayor, the one who governs the altar boys and killed Crispin for his accusation. Plot. The plot revolves around Crisostomo Ibarra makes raid hire of a wealthy clan, returning home after 7 years in Europe and filled with ideas on how to better the lot of his countrymen. Striving for reform, he is confronted by abusive ecclesiastical hierarchy of Spanish civil administrations by turns different and cruel. The death of Ibarra's father, Don Rafael prior to his homecoming, and the refusal of a Catholic burial by Padre Damaso. The parish priest provokes Ibarra into hating the priest, for which Ibarra is excommunicated. The decree is rescinded, however, when the Governor-General intervenes. The friar and his successor, Padre Salve, embody the routine state of the clay. There is tangled feelings, one paternal, the other carnal. For Maria Clara, Ibarra's sweetheart, and rich Capitan Tiago's beautiful daughter. Still, the determination to spoil Ibarra's plans for a school. The town philosopher Tasio Riley notes similar past attempts have failed, and his sage commentary makes clear that all colonial masters fear that an enlightened people will throw off the yoke of oppression. Using satire brilliantly, Rizal creates other memorable characters whose lives manifest the poisonous effect of religious and colonial oppression. Capitan Tiago, the social climber Doña Victorina de Espadaña and her toothless Spanish husband, the Guardia Civil head and his harridan of a wife, the sorority of devout women, the disaffected peasants forced to become outlaws in some microcosm of Philippine society. In the afflictions that plague them, Rizal paints a harrowing picture of his beloved but suffering country in a work that speaks eloquently not just to the Filipino but to all who have endured or witnessed oppression.
Point of conflict. Ibarra debates with the mysterious Ilyas with whose life his is intertwined. The privileged Ibarra favors peaceful means, while Ilyas, who has suffered injustice at the hands of the authorities, believes violence is the only option. Ibarra's enemies, particularly Salvi, implicate him in a fake insurrection, though the evidence against him is weak. Maria Clara betrays him to protect a dark family secret, public exposure of which would be ruinous. Ibarra escapes from prison with Ilya's help and confronts her. She explains why Ibarra forgives her, and he and Ilyas flee to the lake, but chased by the Guardia Civil. One dies while the other survives. Convinced Ibarra's dead, Maria Clara enters the nunnery, refusing a marriage arranged by Padre Damaso. Her unhappy fate and that of the more memorable Sisa, driven mad by the fate of her sons, symbolize the country's condition, at once beautiful and miserable. Crisostomo Ibarra. As the protagonist of the novel, Crisostomo Ibarra is the character in whose character the main conflict resides. It is easy enough to identify the external conflicts. Ibarra versus the society of his time, its values and its prejudice. Ibarra versus Father Damaso and indirectly with the other friars. Ibarra versus Capitan Tiago, whose very strong sense of self-preservation put him in direct conflict with the love between Maria Clara and Ibarra. Maria Clara. Maria Clara did not really resolve the conflicts within her. She chose to escape by entering the convent as a nun. Rightly or wrongly, Maria Clara has been held as the ideal Filipina, which perhaps it is the reason why many Filipinas prefer to be or pretended to prefer being a Maria Clara type with all its dubious virtues. Many had used the convent as an escape from a world that could not give them happiness or the fulfillment they crave. Other conflicts. Other conflicts, mostly internal, reside in other characters such as Sisa, Doña Victorina, Doña Consolacion, and Elias. However, the more internal conflict within Ibarra is the more interesting one, as it expresses the dilemma of present-day Filipinos, the conflict between traditional values and one's personal values that had been developed through time.